I'm Dr. Matt Horn, and I'm going to be your instructor for this reading and study class. We're working through the textbook, and the very first thing you need to do is get a copy of that textbook. So make sure that you go to your campus's bookstore or find a used copy through former students or whatnot, and be sure that you have access to the textbook. And it would be much better for you if you get it as soon as possible. Begin with chapter 1. We're not going to go through the whole book, but we are going to try to hit at least 10 chapters. And then there's going to be another component to the class where you'll be doing a second reading activity, ancillary reading. All right. So the things I want you to do right away: get a copy of the book, open it up, and look at chapter 1, the whole chapter. And what I want you to do is I want you to skim that chapter looking for 5 elements that you think help you specifically. So one of the things that assignment I just gave you, skimming chapter 1 and looking for 5 things, will challenge some of you, because you might be giving too much credence, or I don't want to say respect, to a book, but you might be letting the book sort of manage you instead of you managing the book. And if you say have a tendency to think, well, I need to read every page, or I haven't read the book, maybe in your own readings, that's how you prefer. You prefer to try to listen to everything, or then you'll need to change your strategy, because I want you to be able to recognize, to learn different types of reading, and to recognize when those types of reading need to be in play. So there is slow and careful reading when you're reading poetry or a great work of literature. I think you need to read that slowly and just invest the time, because I don't think you're going to regret that. When you are reading just informational material, depending on your previous knowledge of that item, say it might be an instruction booklet for a device you bought, or it might be a nonfiction book about something you're trying to learn about, maybe municipalities and how cities design things like their sewage and their water treatment plants. There's a really good book about that called Poison City. It's about Flint, Michigan, and the lead in the pipes. And at that point, you might need to read a couple chapters and then skim a couple. You might get away with skipping a couple chapters, because you're getting the main narrative and you're learning the main event as opposed to all the details. So there are times when you might have a book of 15 to 20 chapters, and really, to get a decent handle on the material, you might have to read only 10 chapters. So you need to be comfortable with that now as a strategy that you can employ when you need to, because what's happening more and more in your life is that you're coming under time constraints, and time is becoming more of a scarce resource. You have obligations: work, family, school, relationship obligations. We all have a kind of a different set, but in those sets are some of the same things: work, school, that sort of thing. And your time during the day is getting more and more precious to you, because you have to allocate it and spread it out over various important activities. So you might not have the luxury anymore to sit down with a book and say, well, I'm going to read all of it, every single page. No. You shouldn't be thinking like that. You should be determining, what do I want to get out of the book? What do I need to get out of it? Why am I reading it? Now, if it's for pleasure, that's another thing, right? I mean, that's your own time. That's your pleasure time. I mean, you can read a page a day if you want to do that. But if it's not for pleasure, but it's for a class or for work or for some other project you're working on, you really need to develop strategies of skipping, skimming, speed reading, so forth. Okay, so let's practice that with this first chapter of the textbook. It's a long chapter, and it could be an intimidating assignment, right? So you'll need to be comfortable with something like, well, I feel like I'm missing stuff. Yes, of course you are. We're all going to miss things in life. Every now and then I mourn for the movies and the books and the songs I'm never going to see, read, or hear because of my finite lifespan on this earth. So, I read a lot, but that pales in comparison to all the books I'll never read. So at one point, you just have to be comfortable with the ignorance you're going to have to carry with you throughout life, right? So sure, there are going to be some things you're not going to get out of the chapter. But it's all a balancing game, isn't it? You have a certain amount of time, you have a certain amount of attention, of energy. You have a certain amount of investment. This might not be all that important to you. So why are you spending 3 hours on it? You need to spend 30 minutes on it. So one thing that this book has going for it is that it's using a lot of visual aids, font size, bullet points, indent. There's very strategic use with the white space. A color is employed semantically, in other words, to tell you when something is important and when. So those are aids that are meant to help you move quickly through the book. All right. So let's practice with chapter 1. I'm going to let you skim the whole chapter, and I want you to write down on a piece of paper, type it up. I want it typed. 5 things that you've taken away from chapter 1 that you think really can help you. Now, if you are already decently engaged with a calendar, whether it's a day planner or on your phone, then the whole part of chapter 1 that talks about time management and using a calendar, that's really not going to help you grow. You know what I mean? Because you already have that as a habit you're developing and that you bought into. So I don't want to see that on your paper, because this is all about growth, right? It's about having this class be profitable to you. So you already have that down, right? Pick something you feel like is a good idea for you and something that you need to work on. Okay, so pick 5 of those. And now, on the other hand, if you really do feel that you struggle very much with really knowing what you need to do today, when things are due in 2 days, in 5 days, what you can put off for a little bit, what you shouldn't put off, then for you, one of those things on your paper should be time management through some sort of calendar. Now, I just gave you one sentence, right? Time management through some sort of calendar, period. It's not really a sentence, but you know what I'm saying, right? I guess technically that alone would be one of the 5 things, but I would like you to expand a little bit on that. You know what I'm saying? Write a little bit more. I'm not looking for 10-sentence paragraphs for each one, but I want more than just a few words for each one of these. Think for a bit, for example, why are you struggling with calendar use, if that's going to be one of your things? Is it because it's hard to always have a calendar with you? Okay. Well, what about getting a really good calendar app on your phone? See, I think one of the things that we're just all going to assume is that you have a smartphone. If you don't, every now and then I run across someone who has made a conscientious decision to limit that, or to have an old phone, whatever. If you don't have that app, well, then find some sort of paper version you can carry around. But get a calendar app on your phone. The vast majority are going to have phones, and okay, and then learn how to use it, right? So, putting down, I need to work on the calendar. I think I'll look at this app. It's a free app. Here's the name of the app. I downloaded it, and I've experimented with it. I've tried to figure out how to use it. I had to see if it's going to work well for me. And so, phones used to come with a stylus. Well, just a few did. But, you can write with your finger notes on Samsung Notes. But that might be actually more time-consuming, and you need a calendar app that's going to allow you to speak to it, right? And I think most phones are going to let you do that, but you need to make sure. So that's the kind of thing that you would put down when you write about that one thing that you need among the 5 that you need to sort of work on. I am going to ask you to affirm that you skimmed the chapter, and we're going to take a week to do this. So within 7 days, you're going to have to affirm. I skimmed chapter 1 and here, and I'll look at your work. All right. So get the book, open it up, get started on chapter 1, skimming the whole thing. Find 5 things that you think can really profit you because you're not already doing that, and that you actually think is a good thing. The book is brimming with advice, but some advice is not as good as other advice. Some advice for you is not going to be as helpful. So learn how to say no to some of these things and to say, that's really not for me, I don't think that's going to work. But keep an open mind and an honest mind, because if something does have a possibility to work, and way back there in the back of your mind, you know, I really do need to work on that. Don't just dismiss it out of hand, okay? All right. So I think it's something that is a good way to start this class. So I wish you the very best in this. Let's make sure that we have a profitable semester. And to do that, to make that happen, I'm going to be improvising and making sure that we are skipping material that is not necessarily at our level. Okay, so I'm completely open to that. And I want you to sort of give this class a chance, because sometimes one would think, well, why do I need that? Let me just get right to the material I need to know for my major. So keep an open mind to it. And if there's any point where you really are struggling with why the class, what's the point, please talk to me. Email, phone call, texting, or face-to-face. Zoom, if we need to do that, I'm open to all of those. Now the second thing I want you to start working on, and I'll keep this short, but the second thing, you need to have an updated and working public library card. Okay? And I want your account to be open at the college's library. But you also need, I'm going to ask you to be using your own public library. So being able to get information and material through the library system is to me, is crucial. Okay. Now, for those of you that want a little extra challenge, you're never going to regret this. I don't think you are. But I want you to take on maybe another activity, and that's to make sure that you know how to access your library's online site, website, and to find the audiobooks and the videos that you can download and check out from your library, all right? And find out what kind of file your public library is using for those audiobooks, and see if you can get a free player, an app for that on your phone. Okay, so I go to a couple public libraries, and I'm a huge fan of audiobooks, huge fan. And the vast majority of audiobooks I check out are through Overdrive, the Overdrive file and the Overdrive app. It's a free app you can just download. But you need the app on your phone, and then you need to log into your library through your phone, so you need a library card, and then voila, you have it set up. So just a really quick recap, chapter 1 in the book, skim 5 things that you can work on that you think are going to be good for you, write them out, type them on a piece of paper, and then public library access and school library access. Make sure your accounts are updated, open, because if you have outstanding fines, then they may be blocked. So make sure those accounts are good. And a little bit of an extra activity, see if you can figure out how to download videos and download audiobooks onto your phone. All right, I look forward to seeing you soon.